And we are back. Welcome, guys. My name is DK, and in this video, we're going to be breaking down the 3-game WNBA DFS slate. We got 20K to first up top, so you do love to see that. If this is your first time watching, I cover content for daily fantasy sports, as well as for player prop sites like PrizePicks, Underdog, Parlay Play, which they are the sponsor of today's video. If you guys are not on Parlay Play, how it works is that you're building out slips of player props. All the different sports they offer are up here. They have alternate lines as well, so I would highly recommend it. And if you want to give it a try, you can use the link down below for a $100 deposit match bonus, or you can use the code DKDFS. Yeah, let's I guess before we get in the breakdown, we can recap the last main slate that I played. So was pretty tilted about this one for sure, because basically I had the nuts start with the Atlanta value plus Tina Charles, and then in the late game I just needed anything from Bonner, like a below average game, and I win this tournament, $3,000. I just needed like one more point from her to jump up another like 700, but the game turned into a random massive blowout, and she finishes with 14 fancy points. So pretty tilted about that. Still was a solid day, but yeah, that one hurt for sure. But all right, let's talk about this. So Connecticut and Washington's the first game here. So for Connecticut, they did add Alyssa Thomas injury report, but she's probable, so she should play. So AT's at the top, 11-2. The floor has been a lot lower for her when the team's fully healthy. Obviously, you had a huge year last year, but a good chunk of that was when Bree Jones was injured. I still think Alyssa Thomas is fine. I think there is a little bit of blowout risk in this game. Wnba Bonner's 9K. Obviously, she had a just horrific game when I played her. Right? That was her worst game of the season by far, right? So if she just goes for like low 20s fantasy points, I win that tournament. And it's just so incredibly tilting, and more proof there's absolutely not one human on the planet that runs worse than me. But yeah, Bonner 9K, kind of indifferent on her. Bree Jones, I think, is my favorite point per dollar play of the top three. The minutes have been solid of late, 28 and 30 over the last couple of games. Good point per minute. Like the spot, like the price. So yeah, pretty high there. And Bree Jones and the guards, I think, are fair plays as well. Carrington at 7.2, Harris at 6.5K. Carrington, the minutes can fluctuate a little bit. Most of the time she's playing, mid to high 20s minutes. And then you got Tasha Harris here at 6.5K. That's been consistently playing around low 30s. I think both are solid plays there in the mid range. Don't love a ton of the value. ODO minutes have not been amazing. I think we can probably find some better value on the slate. If you do think this game blows out, she would get extended minutes. Tiffany Mitchell at 4K. I think is a fair punt just because the minutes, right? She's playing around 20 minutes a game. Very low floor, not going to do a ton of peripheral stats, but because she's that cheap and getting around 20 minutes a game, I do think she's at least viable. Moving on to Washington. So Washington pretty beat up here. No Sykes, no Austin, no Samuelson. Leah Edwards is questionable, but I do expect her to play. She went through a full practice yesterday, so I am expecting her to play here. Really bad matchup here for Washington. Connecticut, one of the best defensive teams in the WNBA. So Atkins at the top at 9.4K. I think it's a fine contrarian spend up. If you think Washington can keep it competitive, and you think they can put up some points in this game, then you can take a shot on what I think will be a very low owned Ariel Atkins. She's leading the team right now in usage with Sykes off the court. Dolson's prices went up. Now, a few of these games, the minutes have been very solid, but again, there's been no Leah Edwards. Austin's been out for a while. Edwards is expected back, so I do think the minutes will tick down a little bit there at Dolson. Edwards herself at 8K. I think if she does play, would probably be my favorite of the price of the spend ups here for the Mystics. Has dealt with some foul trouble, but a really good rebounder, and the ceiling is clearly there. Talking about some of the value plays, Von Lewis 6.7K. Is consistently playing around low 20s minutes. Again, don't love it, don't hate it. With Samuelson out though, that should open up some more minutes for some of these kind of fringe rotation players like Hines Allen, Walker Kimbrough, I think will get extended a bit, Melbourne as well. And Glester has had a couple big games, but again, if Aaliyah Edwards is back, I think her minutes will tick down. Wouldn't be completely out of play, but wouldn't like her as much. And then we got to keep eyeing the starting lineup. Like who starts for Samuelson will be pretty important. Obviously, if Edwards is out too, that's gonna open up even more value plays. So keep an eye on it with players like Hines Allen, Walker Kimbrough, and Melbourne. All right, let's move on to Vegas and Chicago. So at the top, A'ja Wilson's at 12.5K. Kind of the same breakdown as always. The best player in the WNBA, has the highest floor plus ceiling. Been consistently playing around mid-30s minutes in competitive games. So yeah, she looks great. She will be extremely popular. No surprise. Now, Chelsea Gray's been back. First couple games, they've kind of eased her in 16, 17 minutes. I expect the minutes to tick up a little bit here. Keep an eye on the starting lineup. If we get news that Chelsea Gray is starting, I think she's one of the best values on the board. If she continues to come off the bench, I still think she's solid. Like around 20 minutes from 5.7K, Chelsea Gray makes her firmly in play. But with Gray back, it has lowered the floor a lot with Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum. They're not completely out of play. These two have still flashed, ceiling games, but there are more tournament plays. Again, that being Plum and Young. Again, their peripheral stats were up for a good chunk of the season because Chelsea Gray was out. But with Gray slowly getting eased back, that has hurt those two. Not a ton else I love here. Alicia Clark is 6K, not completely out of play, more of a filler play. Stokes is 5-1, should play around 20 minutes, kind of the same breakdown. Tiffany Hayes at 5.6 has been starting, but again, eventually I think Chelsea Gray will get moved back in the starting lineup, just a matter of when that will be. Let's talk about Chicago. So Chicago, Elizabeth Williams, out. Is she out for the year? Is she out for a while? I think she's out out indefinitely. Diamond to Shields is probable, but the minutes have ticked way down on her. So at the top, you got Angel Reese at 10.7K. Viable in tournaments. The issue here with Reese is you are paying a premium for her. And there's risk, right? There's a little bit of blowout risk in this game. Vegas are, I believe, double-digit favorites. And Angel Reese is very foul-prone. So you do have some risk here with Reese. But we've seen the ceiling. The minutes have ticked way up since Elizabeth Williams got injured. So not completely out of play there. Mayberry at 9-2 has also been very up and down. But consistently playing mid-30s minutes in competitive games. Vegas does play fast. So I think Mayberry's an interesting tournament play. Cardoso at 8.4K. Should play around 30 minutes if she can avoid foul trouble. I think factoring in the salary, I'd rather get to Cardoso over Angel Reese. But again, both do have some foul risk here. Carter's moved in the starting lineup. I believe 2 or 3 games now she's been in the starting lineup. Been consistently playing high 20s minutes. 7.8K. I think she's one of the better plays here in the mid-range for sure. So do like her a good amount. Dana Evans saw some foul trouble last game, so wouldn't completely read in that 13-minute game. Most of the time, I think she's going to play around low 20s minutes. And with that being said, I think she's a decent point per dollar value. Lindsay Allen's been starting. Not great point per minute, but is really, really cheap. So I think she's a fair value play for the reason of you're probably going to get around 20 minutes for sure, maybe a little bit more. Isabel Harrison's 4.7. If you think one of the bigs get in foul trouble, I don't hate taking a shot in Harrison. Not bad point per minute. And again, if one of the bigs do get in foul trouble, she should get extended. Final game here, Indiana and Seattle. And the big news here is Fag Benley and whether or not she's going to be available. She's questionable day to day, but if she is back, that really does hurt the bigs here for the Fever. So keep a close eye on that. Caitlin Clark is 10.5K. She's been playing 35 to 40 minutes a game. The ceiling is very high in her. Not necessarily the best matchup, but still I think a totally reasonable play there at the top. Boston and Alyssa Smith, again, like I said, it really comes down to Fag Benley and if she's going to be available or not. If she's out, I think Boston and Smith are definitely viable tournament plays. Their minutes have ticked way up. But if Fag Benley's in, both should lose minutes. Alyssa Smith I guess I don't think they would start Fag Benley right away, but Smith would, I think, eventually move back to the bench there. Kelsey Mitchell's at 8.1K. She's consistently playing 30-plus minutes. Obviously, she's not going to do a ton of the peripheral stats, but I think she's playable. And then we also got to mention Dantas is back. So she's going to be in the rotation as well. Assume she's going to be on a limit, but that does hurt some of these kind of fringe rotation players like Wallace, Samuelson, Wheeler. So definitely makes those riskier. And then finally, Seattle. So you got Ezzy at the top, 10K, NECA at 9.6, Jewel Lloyd 9.3, Diggins Smith at 9.1. I'm pretty high in the Seattle team. And we've talked about it in all these videos, right? The offense is basically running through those top 4. It's a phenomenal matchup, and the price points are down on all 4. So I like all of them. Ezzy, again, going to play low to mid-30s minutes. Obviously, great with the peripheral stats, great with the blocks and steals. NECA's been a little bit quiet, but this is a great spot. Love the ceiling there. I really like the ceiling on Jewel Lloyd. She's not shot well at all this year. I mean, look at last 4 games. 3 of 15, 0 of 9, 5 of 15. But she's still contributing with some peripheral stats. And if she does make her shots, we know the ceiling is very, very high on Lloyd. So pretty high on her. Diggins Smith at 9.1K, I think a very safe play. Consistently playing over 30 minutes. Great at stuff from the stat sheet. So yeah, I'm very high on the Seattle Storm team. Orsten is 6.8K, so she moved in the starting lineup. Last game, she played 34 minutes. I think she's also one of the better plays in the mid-range. So, yeah, a lot to like here, in my opinion, from Seattle. Probably my favorite team to target. Outside of that, I mean, nothing I feel great about. Yeah, Tammy Wickham only played 5 minutes last game. I think it's pretty hard to go there. Victoria Vivian's is 3.9K. She only played 6 minutes last game. Mercedes Russell, again, like they're just playing these girls a little bit in the rotation. Holmes might see a few minutes as well, but there's nothing I really feel confident in because they're just giving the starters huge run. Okay, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for the video. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you all in the next video.